Hello everybody, it's Zach G with Untitled Reviews, or DBZ5 Naruto, whichever one you would really like to prefer. Today I am taking a look at a Master Grade 1/100th Age 2 Normal. And there's the box in the background for you. Now there's a few things I want to note before I get into this review. I am fairly new at this, so I'm going to put this on my channel and see how well it does. And second off, there won't be a flight transformation for this Gundam. It'll all be just mobile suit mode. The reason is because the manual wasn't quite clear on how I attached some parts, so I actually had to super glue some parts on. More or less, it actually wasn't the manual. It was more of I was moving around and some of the pieces on the kit got broke. So the actual little hinge that's supposed to go in here with that white part, that actually broke off. So in order to keep that white part in place, I actually had to take some super glue and super glue the bottom and attach it in like that and hold it there for about 15 minutes, and it's cemented into place. So there will be no transformation gimmick for this mobile suit. If you were a fan of the transformation gimmick, I apologize. However, let's continue on with the review. Okay, I swear this is not Gundam abuse. This is actually me trying to show off the capability of this kit, or the flexibility. These wings can be spun all the way around, or you can even have them in this crazy ridiculous pose like I have it in. Arms can go out and probably touch the shoulder if you did not have that shield in there. Legs can go back a little bit farther than this. Hold on one sec here. It can go back about that far. While we're on the topic of the legs, most of the time when I'm posing this thing, it always goes back into this weird little chicken crotch foot thing that you have right here. And this is actually part of the transformation gimmick, which again I don't have, so I probably will be fixing that and just putting in normal caps in there and changing that out with probably another mask grade I'm not using right now. But yes, it's very, very annoying, and if you want this in your kit, that's great, but for me, I find this mostly annoying and just kind of irritating. Yes, the head can go around 360. I'd rather not do it because the ball joint on mine is really, really stiff, and the less I have to move it, the better. So, now that I showed you the articulation, let's get down to the real meat of this Gundam, and that's its weapons, and most importantly, that rifle, that really, really nice looking rifle, and we'll see how well it can hold it. As you can see, it holds it relatively well. I could pick it up and shake it, and it doesn't really move at all. And that's mostly due to that peg right down there that you see. And what happens is that peg connects into the bottom of the forearm, if my camera would ever focus. Oh, it did focus. It plugs into the bottom of the arm and really helps with the strong attachment to it, so it never really goes anywhere. However, that peg is sort of loose, so when it pops out, the gun does wiggle and go pretty much all over the place. I since I did not paint this kit, used super glue in the background right there. However, some people say that doing a clear coat or flat coat over the piece helps strengthen the connection. Me, I just use super glue in that little ball joint there, so it helps stay in place a lot better. No, I didn't super glue it to the hand, I super glue it to the attachment down there, which you should somewhat see. And he holds it relatively nice. However, with that leg function that I told you about, having him doing too many ground poses is kind of hard. He can pull off some really good ground poses. It's just definitely he is not meant for the ground because those legs are way too small, and especially when the kit likes to do, well, this. Yeah. It's like he's walking towards the ground right there. Okay, so I know this kit isn't exactly new, but it comes with these pre-molded hands. So, you don't got your standard 3 trigger trigger finger split, which is my preferred hand, aside from the real grade hands. And I honestly am hit and miss on these. Sometimes they stand there really good, sometimes they don't. But you do get 2 open hands, 2 closed fists, 2 trigger fingers, and then you got 2 gripping hands to grip the beam sabers, which is right here. You get 2 long ones and then 2 short ones, and that's pretty much all the accessories you really get with this kit. However, you do get one more little piece of accessory. This is the attachment that will plug into the bottom of his crotch and will be able to be put up on a tri-base. So, without further ado, let's see how he looks with the beam saber. And just like the high grade, he keeps his beam sabers right there on the back, which is kind of impractical, but at least on this kit, they can move individually, as you can see right there. The bad part is these beam sabers are kind of flimsy. I'll show you more in a minute. See, kind of like with the F91's back vernier thrusters, or beams, or beam cannons, whatever you really want to call them, these come on a very, very thin peg they have to attach both of these sides into, as you can see kind of right here. I'm sorry I'm doing all this one-handed, but those two little individual slots are actually 3 pieces smushed together, and they come on very thin plates. Now with the other one, I broke it, and in order to get it back looking the same place, Mr. Super Glue came in handy. So we won't be using that one because it's permanently stuck in place over there. However, we can definitely use this guy. So right here you get to see the beam saber all blinged out, as I like to call it, and it looks like this is kind of like Amuro Ray's Gundam, where he's got the slit at the end and the long beam sword at the front. It actually looks really, really nice, and that's another reason why I'm upset that that other piece broke on me back there. As you can see in the background, that lightsaber kind of crushed on me, but that's alright. Well, one's better than none, I guess. And there you have it. He can hold both his Dodge rifle and his beam saber. A little thing about the beam sabers, though, is that the hands they give him really don't connect into the beam saber all that well. I feel like they've gone down from master grade here, so that they used to have really great master grade hands where they could hold on to their beam sabers fairly well. However, this one is just terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was a pain in the butt getting it in there, and quite frankly, if I move this arm too much, it won't stay in there. For right now, it passes the shake test, but if I were even to touch this arm even a little bit, it could loosen up and the beam saber could fall out. I have it sitting at this pose because, quite frankly, if I have it leaning downward, the arm would probably, the hilt would probably fall off. Another problem with these beam sabers is that, remember when I told you before that those 3 pieces kind of like bend in together? Yeah, well, they can bend like different ways, so it makes the beam saber look kind of wonky and odd. And then the feet are just not cooperating with me on this kit. The posability just seems to go down when you want to have them doing anything really dynamic on the ground. So, let's get them up on an action base. And voila! Well, now, you guys did not see that because I was off camera, but that took a long time for me to get into a pose, at least something like that. He's not quite aiming down the barrel of the gun, but oh well, you guys get the point anyway. So there we go. I had to fix that because that was going to bother me with him not looking down the barrel of the gun. So I tried to keep the beam saber in the hand, but it kept on falling out. One of the things I read online is to take, if I can find it here, the trigger end right here, since it has that little ledge in there, if you guys can see that. Hold on one sec here. Yeah, you see a little lever right there? A lot of people say you can connect that in there, and it should connect fairly well. But you see, when I tried that, it still moved around in there a lot, and it would end up falling out. Same problem here, it's just, again, they just didn't have the peg in there. And again, I feel like older master grades did this a lot better than these newer ones that we're getting now. And it's just bothering me because they used to hold beam sabers fairly well. I mean, back when the master grades didn't even have a slit in the arm, they still held them fairly well. And it's really sucky because you look at the cover art here. In fact, I'll pull it out from the manual. He's holding 2 beam sabers, but yes, you can get that pose, but it's going to look pretty damn terrible. So to continue, I'm going to give you my thoughts and impressions of this kit after, completing it and getting it this far. But first things first, let's have a little comparison. Please bear in mind that the 00 riser right there is a little grumpy considering that was his base. However, he can at least somewhat stand on his 2 feet, even though he's got that humongous backpack. This guy, on the other hand, he can barely do one pose. Not to say that this guy's any better, but anyway, they're both created by the same guy, and you can definitely see a lot of similarities. I think everybody notices this by now, and it's really crazy to see how well they've come. Right here you can see just a very nice and sleek design, and this one's more of a bulk bulky but yet sleek. I don't know. I definitely like the 00 riser for the more complex look, but definitely if you want some sort of the same look, definitely go for the H2 normal if you want more of a sleeker look. You can just see how that one just looks a little bit more agile, while this one just looks a little bit more complex. Oh, and by the way, sorry about that there earlier. I was trying to get a copy of this, but this is the actual hand that actually does have a peg in the hand. This was the exact hand I was talking about, which they went away with on there. And as you can see, plugs into there, no problem whatsoever. Same thing should have happened over there with that arm, as that they should go back to the slits in the hand. But that's just my personal preference. I do have the H2 normal as a high grade, however, I figured it would be more kind of similar if I show the Dark Hound. I do have the normal version of the H2 in high grade. However, that is currently at my desk job at the place that I work. So instead, here is the Dark Hound. You can definitely see that it scales up pretty well. However, if you definitely want a more sturdy Gundam, definitely go with the high grade. The high grade, just pretend this is the H2 normal. The H2 normal was a really good high grade, and I just really wish that they did it more justice with the master grade right here. So this will be my final thoughts on the kit, and yes, I am using a rotating base. I had to use it sometime in this review. I bought it for exactly this review. So getting on to my final thoughts about this kit. This kit was a really, really enjoyable kit, especially even though I hated the waist section because of, again, some of my parts that got here were tampered. But even so, it was a really fun chest to build. It was really unique. A lot of the waist section and even the arms were really fun to build. The legs were really awkward and kind of difficult. And the head itself, well, that was really frustrating as well. If you get to the head part, you will exactly understand how I feel when you're trying to connect in those black pieces up on top of there. It was very frustrating. Another part that I found just irritating about this kit was the legs. The legs were terrible. They make pretty much ground poses impossible. You pretty much need to have this guy up on an action base in order to get even a decent pose out of him. And don't get me wrong, there's multiple other poses that you can have this guy do. It's just I don't really think that you're going to have him holding a lot of beam sabers. And then again, going back on to my my gripe against the beam sabers here. You know, these look so great. I could see them doing so much. It's just they don't hold into the hand very well. Again, I did try the clamp hand. They didn't work. I did try the trigger finger, and it slid out. I don't know if it's just my kit or if it's anybody else's, but it definitely did not stay in there. And overall, the kit was very loose. The loose joints, those back parts right there and there, they fell off multiple times within this review. The wings, they can't stay on worth heck. The gun, that little ball point down there pops off so many times. Let's see here. Moving on. The leg, that pops back, and sometimes it doesn't want to pop forward. I've had the leg fall off a few times. It's only attached in by one little pin system in there, and that is for the transformation. And again, since I don't have a transformation, since I glued that white piece on, and half of the stuff in the chest is pretty much glued on, that pretty much eliminated the transformation. So I'll probably just go back there and just glue the legs on and permanently leave them in mobile suit mode. I wasn't a big fan of the transformation anyway, so to me it's not a big loss. Another part that I found very, very irritating about this kit was the little A inside the chest. When this thing comes back around, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. This A in here, if I can show it off, they give you a silver sticker, and maybe if I get them into the right light, you can somewhat see the silver sticker, but it doesn't really show off that much. And quite frankly, I think the Age 1 did a lot better job of making it look a little bit better. I just did not like it. And pretty much this thing is going to be a glorified brick. I apologize. It just doesn't live up. The hands barely hold the weapons. That rifle right there, it isn't being really held up by the hand. It's pretty much being held into the attachment that is on a ball point. So it doesn't really hold the gun by itself. Another part that I found really lacking and disappointing with this kit was the fact that the feet won't keep posed to the ground. You can try to level these things off fairly well, but again, they just don't stay on the ground fairly well. You definitely, like I said before, going back to the action base, you definitely want an action base for this. And if you don't have an action base, it's tough getting this guy in any sort of poses. You can get him probably 1 or 2 ground poses, but I really wouldn't suggest more than that. But that is it for the negatives, and I feel like I rambled on there. Time to get into the positives of this kit. The positives is that it looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie, the colors look great. It looks pretty darn good. There are some bad nubs in this kit, as Jabman would probably say. However, if you clean up those nubs fairly well, they really hide fairly well. And again, this is completely unpainted. This is completely snapped together out of the kit. I've only applied the eye stickers and the little green sticker in the chest. Everything else is completely snapped together. No paint, no cover paint, or no top coat. There is only a little bit of panel lining, and that's mostly what I did in the wings right there. And they're barely even noticeable in the wings. And again, the black in there is panel lining, except for the more inner parts of the shield. But that's about it. So I'd have to say this kit is definitely a terrible kit if you really wanted to do more than anything than pose it. If you want to do anything else besides posing the kit and leaving it there for a while, if you want to play with it even a little bit, probably not exactly the kit for you. In fact, right there, you'll see that it's starting to come out of that little ball hinge point. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first review. I know it's been a little lengthy, but this is just kind of a test to see how well Gundam takes here. I had fun building this kit. Overall, I really did. It was a fun kit to build, and I really don't get a lot of that. Mostly, I'm just sitting around trying to make a review of a TV series or Death Note or whatever, but I had some time on my hands, and I figured why not build a kit, and I had a lot of fun, even though this was a terrible kit. So, well guys, see you later.